Today's episode is a special one. I am interviewing the one and only Anks Patel. Anks is located in the United Kingdom and he's the founder of Peoplepreneur. But what makes him extra special is that he specializes in self leadership and personal development. Anks, welcome to the show today.
Appreciate it. Give up for Tara.
Thank you, my
You know
friend.
what? When there's good company, there's going to be good conversation. That's what That's what I always say.
I love
So I
that.
appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being a guest on the show.
Yeah.
So, we talk about leadership a lot, right? We there's tons of books on the subject, infinite amount of books it seems. There's so many professional speakers that speak on this topic of leadership to companies and corporate entities. There's so much information out there about leadership, but I don't feel like enough people talk about self-leadership enough. And if they do, they're not digging into the well deep enough, it seems. Do you feel that way, Anks?
Uh, Absolutely. Bang on, nail on the head. You know, it's the thing is, Tara, we like to we like to package things up in this world, right? Because we're always thinking about number one. And as much self leadership is about number one, the lens, I've always said this, the lens we look at something matters significantly, right?
Yes.
And everything that we package up is essentially there to do something, but at the end of it is always some sort of outcome or goal, or some sort of gain that we're trying to build. So bang on there in terms of there's a lot about leadership and leading people, others. Yeah, there you go, thumbs up. That came up. And but there's less about how we really lead ourselves, because it goes deeper. It goes, like you said, the well is not, it's not dug deep enough, and it's significant in our journey. Yet we're dismissive of it because it's not as easy as boom, 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 1, 2, 3. And so something like self leadership takes time because it's multifaceted, right? There's a lot of things that needs to be done under that umbrella. But generally, by definition, one thing that I want to put out there, and I think you started in the right way, that this isn't about how do we lead a company. This isn't about how do we lead people. This isn't about professional development. Not yet, anyway, because that is all just the application of it. And if I was to really just put it simply, back to basics, we were talking about back to basics. If we just really put it simply, then really it's the ability, in my opinion, to lead our lives from a place of within that allows us to be effective in our lives. And, like, develop leading people and leading companies, where this is the commonly associated of leadership. The fine line between all of that really is self leadership first, because how do we lead anything if we can't even lead ourselves?
Yeah.
Now, we're ineffective. Well, to someone else's perspective, they might be effective in the role, but we're ineffective leading ourselves if we're leading in a company, for example, based on a job title. Because we go home, we close, out of the four square walls of the business or the company, whatever you work, and instead of leading, we're now living. So we put leadership out and we put living in. Well, self leadership doesn't end the moment you close the doors. So we'll be ineffective. And without that clarity, we'd always be expected to lead in a way that is expected by others, or the world for that matter, right? We're put into a place where we're leading. And for others, short term, it might be great. Long term, detrimental to us, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
think the real question there is, wouldn't we be more influential self leaders from a conviction of change rather conviction of credibility? Right, this is the very big difference there.
Wow, that's huge. Say that
So
one say emphasize that just one more time because that is really deep.
yeah, it's I've always had this question in my mind, and the more I observe, the more I've begun to understand that we're in such a short-term race. Always, it's we've developed that, right? Humans have developed that. We've developed those criteria, and the question that I'm always pondering upon is, wouldn't we be more influential self leaders from like a point of conviction of change
Mm.
rather than the conviction of credibility?
That is so key. It's a transformation. I felt that energy when you said that
Mm,
because it's an energy exchange at that
yes.
point. It's beyond you, right? It's something that radiates off of you and inspires others.
And I think that is the key. It's the
Yeah,
key there, where it seems as if today we are trying to build so much trustworthiness, trying to build this credibility, yet serving others starts by serving self. And it may seem cliche, that sets sentiment. I still believe it's misunderstood, still to this day, because we're easy to be experts in something and give our 2 cents, than to stop, hush our mouth, learn,
mm, yeah.
and remove the things that might not be serving us and really adopt the things that could serve us, right? Which is why I think it's key. And really, down to the basics, that is for me self leadership, the ability to lead our lives. We're talking lives, we're not talking about business here. When you effectively lead yourself, then you're going to be a lot more effective in other areas.
I agree. And it helps with building confidence, right? And I think that's so key. I think let's going back to the being a leader in a company example. I think of an unconfident leader is not necessarily somebody I would trust, right? I would think, what are they hiding
Yes.
from me? Right? They don't seem or they're it seems like a lack of competence in or on some type of way. So this self-leadership, when we apply it to ourselves, we do start to gain confidence. It it starts to open up a part of ourselves that we didn't really know we could tap into yet fully.
Mm, mm.
But it's interesting, I mean, we're talking about the basics here today, but it's not really basic, is it? It's not.
Far from it.
It far from it. It sounds like these are simple questions, but honestly, no, not enough people ask these really simple questions and go deep with something.
But so let me ask you then, Tara, what makes it not basic? And in my opinion, is that we're so separated from that understanding of basic,
Mhm.
because we have to be so advanced today.
Right.
It's like using, I'm an iPhone guy, right? We use an iPhone right now, and I used to have one of those Nokias, and like when we go back to that, we're like, how do I get to the settings? Like we don't know anymore, and it's probably the most basic version of the usage of user interface, right? At that
Yep,
point,
yep,
compared to now,
yep.
um, and so that's what it is, and I feel as if there's a large separation between, and going back to basics is always beneficial. There's always merit in there. The thing is, how do we go back to basics, right?
Mhm.
And that
I
is the
love
key.
I love that. That is so interesting. So, we know it's important. We know why it's important. We know some of the benefits, but where do you start? That's usually what people ask me, where do you start? Where do you even begin? What's that first step even look like for somebody who wants to have a better life? Maybe they want to develop confidence and improve themselves in some kind of way, but some people just don't know that first step. What do you think, Anks? I mean, if you were to just say for the average person, what could somebody do?
I don't believe there is one, two, three. Right? There is no as such step. And I believe there's more of an understanding first. There's an understanding first. And because, hey, self leadership is really the top level umbrella, right?
Yeah.
And if we were to break it down, so I have a certain categories, headings, if you call them, I break them down. And so I'm just building the picture around this. So self leadership at the top, and I've got certain categories. So we've got self navigation, self empowerment, self love, self valuation, self awareness, expression, self care, and really everything under self leadership. Mindset, communication, resiliency, confidence. They all are housed under these headings. And so we have varying degrees of things that we're working on. So, one person might be working on self expression, they want to better their communication or public speaking, right? And then another person might be in the self navigation phase where they're saying, well, where is my life going? So we have different level of these things. So really, there isn't a one, two, three, but more so, and I believe something you mentioned prior to this conversation was that there is a, what was it you said? Um, I've forgotten what you said, but there's something that you said. If it comes back to me, I'll come back to it. But okay, so we have those umbrellas, right? We have
Mhm.
those headings, and everything resides under there. We at some point have to be effective. If self leadership really is about effectiveness, then we have to really be effective in all areas, which takes
Yes, in
time.
all
Oh, and I
areas.
believe what it was is
Oh,
progressive.
ah,
It's a
yes.
journey, right?
Yes, it's
Because
a
you can't
journey.
be fully self-led, let's say, what in the
Yes,
sense of effectiveness right now, here, this moment, because you're trying to build certain areas, that sort of stuff. So when they say, oh, reach your highest potential, and that is just jargon. That is, it's a fake promise, because there is no highest, there is a continuous
yes,
potential, right?
yes.
And if I was to say, if there would be a starting point, then it wouldn't be here, 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 or do this, this, this. It would be more around three kind of areas. And that is the basis before you do anything in terms of where are we leading ourselves. So the first one is clarity. It has to be. There has to be clarity there. And what I mean by that, even that word is thrown around these days, and make sure you're clear before you do something. What I mean by clarity under self leadership is you have to be utterly transparent in the journey, the direction that you're going. That includes the intention, the decision making, and your actions. That's what I mean by clarity. It means everything you do is central to that idea. The second one is connection. And what I mean by connection is, oh, there you go, balloons. Sorry, it just comes up. Connection, second one, connection is what we do and where we apply ourselves must bring meaning to our existence.
Yes.
And the difference there is in the last two characters of serving and service. It's the last two characters. You change the last two characters, and it's a massive change in how you understand that word. Serving and service. And then the last one is certainty. And confidence comes into this, right? It's a top level umbrella for confidence, certainty. And it's really becoming this unbreakable, unstoppable, and irreplaceable individual identity in our contributions.
Mhm. I love
And
that.
it's something that you said earlier about competence. It's where, confidence and competence collide, a level of certainty of who you are and what you're here to do. It's irreplaceable. And so the starting points are those three areas. All three should be pointing in one direction. You have to have a level of utter transparency in the journey, right? You have to be connected to who you are and what you're here to do in terms of bring meaning to your existence. Does it bring meaning in the right way? And then certainty. Are you completely certain as to the contributions that you bring in? And so where we begin is personal navigation, not professional navigation.
That is so powerful. It's a compass. And you know what? It saves time. It saves time, a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of frustration. But beyond that, you're living just it's more of just your truth. Um, and that journey that you're talking about, I used to always when I suffered from depression, I'd be thinking about the past, right?
Mm,
Or if I was anxious, I was thinking about the future. And when I started to, my personal development journey, my self-leadership journey, which led to confidence, um, there was a lot to tackle and unpack along the way. And it took some time, but I will say this, I'm at the point in my life now, I am so enjoying this journey. Like truly, truly living in the present. And when you can get to that point, I feel like when you're really living in the present, your self leadership just amplifies through the roof. You're able to accomplish so much more because you're not wasting your energy on invaluable things like the past or the future. You're focusing and really being intentional, but like you said, with clarity, it's the difference between going from here to where you are in the UK on a boat being guided by the stars maybe, or
mm,
having an actual compass or GPS.
I like that.
I choose the GPS version.
Mm,
That's personal development, and that self-leadership is that compass that can really guide you to being just always a continual better version of yourself because like you said, there is no what's the peak? Just we can always continually get better, don't you think?
yes, yes, yes. There is no peak. It's a false promise to believe there is. And the more we believe something like that, the more separated we become. And what you're saying then is you're at a point in your journey where you you're in your highest form. Where is the highest? And I'm saying that deliberately because the highest is the highest today. If you're not, then tomorrow you're not any higher. Today is the day. Whatever we do today intentionally, we are the highest form right now. Even if today is a worse day than yesterday, today is a a growth. We've grown from yesterday. So we are at the highest form right now, and there is no peak. It is a continuous process. We have to go through all those all those umbrellas that I told you: navigation, expression, awareness. Be effective in all those areas.
So powerful, but it can make such a difference in your life. It just really
Mm,
can. I mean, just for me personally, public speaking was a fear, right? I had to face my fears. I had to step outside of my comfort zone. And I knew that if I wanted to do a TED talk or, stand on stage and talk in front of a lot of people, it would require a new version of myself.
mm,
And I really felt like it was like peeling back the layers of an onion. There's a lot of layers. But when you start to really peel those layers back, you start to see a person that is more developed, more refined, who kind of embraces their fears and steps into that confident person they really was inside them all along.
Mm.
Because, like you're saying, it's we can always just increase, right? But you know, we think sometimes that some of these things are for only leaders. Only leaders of a company need somebody to work with them to develop themselves, or somebody that's really, we think of maybe that's really important, or who we classify as really important. But honestly, anybody can benefit from this, don't you think, Anks?
Well, you don't say those words. That's the forbidden language of business when you say everybody, right? um, everyone. And
Everyone,
I'm gonna be unconventional when I say this, right?
everyone.
Everyone, dare I say it, the forbidden language of business, not to be everyone. Ooh,
The
everyone.
secret
Hey, listen,
sauce.
Tara. If we were given a user guide for when we were born, this is your body, this is how to use it. I guess what chapter would be in that book? It would be self leadership.
Yeah.
So, so everybody has the right to lead. The difference is now is who's willing,
Yes.
who's willing, and
Who's
because it's not easy. Now, and I like what you said because your TED talk, your public speaking under the umbrella of self expression, if going back to my headings, that was only apparent because the reason to do it, there's more than just public speaking. So contextually, the reason for that has a higher meaning or reason because you had to get a point in your journey. Here's the thing: once you become a public speaker or confident, your confidence peaks and you now can speak fluently in it doesn't stop there because now you can communicate that outside of a professional environment. So but what did you need? You needed some level of context in order for that to push you into that effectiveness, if you will.
Yeah.
But so going back to say really who's it for, then we aren't talking about, well, when I say we, I mean peoplepreneur, right? The name I represent, right? We aren't speaking about titles or skills or business or industry. You're a human, you're a soul, right? I'm talking to you. And it really comes down to really the contribution that we want to make because there is a deeper, more rooted need that many will never ever or still don't know is there. And particularly self leadership in the way I kind of see it, it's for those that I believe those people I call the extraordinaires. It's someone who's seeking more profound existence, not just oh we wake up, we go to work, we I made a 10K in my business. That at some point that novelty wears off, right? We've got 15-year-old millionaires these days. It's not cool to be a millionaire, right? What's more there, right? It's for those people that I believe place legacy, the importance of legacy over personal leverage. It's
Yes.
for those that want the control in chaos. And really the those that are challengers, if you will, to convention. I believe those are the real people that are benefiting right now from self leadership.
Yeah. I agree. It's about building that legacy that lasts after long after you're gone, right? What contribution are you contributing to the betterment of the collective?
Mm,
And ultimately, that's I believe that, our purpose does contribute to the betterment of humanity. It should, our individual purposes. And when we do these things, when we become a self leader and learn self mastery and step into a better version of ourselves. the potential to inspire others is so paramount. I was talking to a new client last night, and this gentleman went from morbidly obese, and now he's super fit, and he wants to teach people how to do this. But there's pain there, there's a story there, and sometimes it's hard to share it. But I told him the best thing he can do is be real, be raw, share that story, and show people what it's like to live a purpose driven uh, life with responsibility mindset, with ownership mentality, and save somebody's life.
Mm.
That is purpose. And when you feel that, when you feel somebody that really has that desire to change the world, there's no stopping them. There's no stopping them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. You know why? Because as much as self leadership is about effectiveness, right? We're only as effective. Our effectiveness is only, and there's a cap, it's only as effective until somebody else is benefiting. Think about that. There's no point being effective if there is no one receiving its effect.
Oh, yes, so true.
Like
Wow,
we,
that is so
all of a
powerful.
sudden we are, yeah, like all of a sudden we are the best and the peak and all of that sort of stuff. But there's nobody around.
It's like the old adage, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Exactly. And
Yes.
that really is ingrained in this idea of self leadership and effectiveness and how we lead ourselves, because serving is all part of this. And if you're not, then being effective for what then? To yourself? Nobody cares, right? You go. Let's put it in context for people. Actually, I think it's
Yeah.
better in context. You go to the gym, and I always use this example. You go to the gym, we build our body. What is its effectiveness? It's only effective when you apply it. So one
Mm.
one example is somebody looks at you and says, "Hey, mate, you've got a great body." That's one sense of benefit. Not for you, for them, because they're like, "Wow, I would love to do that myself."
Yep.
Another one is it's like a job. You get paid after you've done the work. So the built body now is only as effective when it's applied, meaning now I can work better or I have more sense of energy to apply it to something. Yet, if you look at the fine inner grain there, it has to be applied to something, to somebody, to someone else for it to be effective.
Yes. I love that. So inspiring. We don't think about that enough. But it has to benefit someone else in order to have
Yes,
effectiveness. It's the
yes,
only way. It's the
yes,
only way. It's universal law.
yes.
It really is. It's universal law. It's natural law. So, let's all think about this and take some introspective. This is a lot to unpack. This is one of these episodes that you may have to listen to a couple of times, because while the concepts sound so simple, honestly, I got goosebumps a couple of times. When you talk about something at a depth of clarity, it, like you said, Anks, it becomes your compass and how you're going to live the rest of your life. And if you use this as a driving force, guess what? You're going to become very confident, but you're going to take others with you. And that's what it's all about. So beautiful conversation as always. I mean, Anks, it's never a disappointment. I've talked to you plenty of times. But I'm always fulfilled, and like I feel
uh,
lighter, and but you give me a lot to think about. So I'll be like digesting this for the rest of the day, I think.
no, I appreciate that. The secret is the truth. That's the
Yes.
secret.
That's it. It's really that simple, right?
It is. I don't know how much more I could it's express the truth.
Yep, that's right. Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for everybody who tuned in on this episode today. We will catch you on